So the problem is, how do you present and plate rice? By itself, rice is a very boring and simple part of the plate. So how do we transform it into something appealing and make it an interesting part of the overall dish? Hi, I'm Taryn. If we haven't met before, I love food plating and presentation and want to help you take your food to the next level. The process for plating rice starts before it's cooked. There are a few critical steps to take in the cooking process that help with the presentation process. If you already know how to cook perfect fluffy rice, I'll put the timestamp on the screen for where you can jump to get to the presentation and plating part of this video. Otherwise, this rice isn't going to cook itself, so let's get started. These are the things we need. We've got our rice. I'm using a long grain white rice today. This is basmati rice, most often served with Indian curries, but it's a brilliant all-round rice. You could use any long grain white rice, but the cooking method I'm going to show you will not work with a brown rice or wild rice. Then we've got our salt and some water. There are a few different ways you can cook rice. You can steam it, boil it, use a rice cooker, cook it in the microwave, use a Thermomix. But today I'm going to show you how we boil it in a pot on the stove using the absorption method. There's just 3 simple steps to follow. Step 1, washing. Washing rice is a bit tedious, but it is the key to getting nice fluffy rice. We need to remove the surface starch so it allows the rice to absorb more water while cooking. So add some water, swirl it all around and pour the water off. You need to keep doing this until the water runs clear. This usually takes about 5 or 6 washes. Step 2, adding water. You want to add enough water that all the rice can cook, but not too much that it doesn't all evaporate. Put your finger on top of the rice and add water up to your first knuckle on your index finger. I find this is a quick way for knowing just the right amount of water to use. If you want to be more exact, you can use a ratio of 2 to 1, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. Don't forget to add salt. Step 3, cooking. We need to slowly bring the rice to the boil. Once it's boiling, turn the heat off, leaving the pot on the element. Make sure you don't remove the lid. The remaining heat from the element and the steam in the pot will continue to cook the rice through and make it nice and fluffy. So here we have our beautifully cooked rice. All you need to do now is fluff it up with a fork, as it will have taken on the shape of the pot it was cooked in. Then put it into a serving bowl. There's nothing wrong with serving it in a bowl just like this. But we can do better than that. Today I'm going to give you 3 different plating ideas to get you going. Rice is very dry by itself, so you'd usually plate it with something saucy. I've got a chicken curry here in various different forms to use to show you some of these different ideas. So let's get into idea number 1, using rice as a bed. We're going to spoon a bed of rice onto the plate in a simple design. This is a great alternative to serving rice in a pile on the plate with the other parts of the meal on top. I've chosen to use a round black plate to create some contrast with the white rice. You can let your imagination go wild and spoon the rice on however you like. Today I'm going for a simple but elegant look, so we'll just spoon it on in a straight line like this. The rice will fall all over the plate, so just push it back to where you want it to be. Give the plate a wipe with paper towel to clean up if needed. Then we'll arrange some fried chicken pieces on top, overlapping them as well to add to the presentation. Now it's time for the sauce. A few spoonfuls over the top, allowing some to drop over the sides and onto the plate, looks great. As always, it needs some garnish, so I'll add a few black poppy seeds to tie in with the black plate and some thinly sliced spinach to finish it off. Usually I'd use fresh coriander as a garnish on a curry, but it isn't always available, so fresh parsley or spinach are great substitutes. Wow, I love it! The colours stand out, we've got some height, and that wasn't difficult to achieve, was it? On to idea number 2, using moulds to shape the rice. Rice easily takes on the shape of a mould, which creates lots of different plating options. I had a look in my kitchen drawers and found a few things. Here's a measuring spoon that makes this cool oval shape. Pop some rice into this spoon and give it a good push to stick it loosely together. Tip it over onto your plate and give it a light tap to let the rice fall out. How cool is that? Or you could use a ramekin to create this sort of shape. It's a good idea if you're using a ceramic mould to give it a light oil. Since it's a bit smaller, you could put a few of these onto the plate. Cookie cutters make interesting shapes too, like this gingerbread man cutter. Carefully push the rice down in all the little parts of the shape. Shapes like these would make dinner quite appealing to a child, wouldn't they? I've decided to use this squarish bowl as a mould, and I'm going to put it onto this square plate. If you've been watching some of my other videos, you might think I'm contradicting myself. But this is deliberate, putting a square mould on a square plate. I'm going to put the rice square diagonally onto the plate, and the surrounding sauce will break up the double square. I'm going to put the kebabs on the side here. Leaning them against the side of the rice helps them to stand and gives height to the plate. Overlapping them adds depth. And I'll finish with some chopped spinach, which adds a lovely burst of colour. Well, that doesn't look boring, does it? I'm very happy with the look of this plate. Let's get on to idea number 3, keeping things separate. When you have a saucy casserole, stew or curry type component to your dish, you can always use separation to enhance the presentation. By separation, I simply mean to plate each part of the dish separately, and then link the components together by using the same garnish. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to use a rectangular black plate and put the curry into this little square bowl, which will go onto the plate. Notice how the white bowl contrasts with the black underplate. Then I'm going to put the rice on the black plate over here. I'm using a funnel to shape it. This will give some height to the dish, and the contrast of the white rice on the dark plate will look stunning. To get my rice pyramid just where I want it, I'll put the plate over the cone and then tip it back over. To link these two components together, I've got some finely sliced spinach to use as a garnish. This is a very simple yet effective way to plate rice by adding an interesting shape. Don't these 3 ideas transform simple, basic white rice into something appealing and make it an interesting part of the overall dish? We've thought about using colours, height, shapes, and just changing things around to create something beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Clicking the like button really helps me out, and if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, make sure you're subscribed. If there's a food you'd like help with plating and presenting, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to make a video on it. Otherwise, there's a similar video lined up for you up here or a playlist ready to go down here. See you next time!